podcast party to slay a dragon.
Maliboo rolled a 7.
Slingbet has a shiny 4.
Violet got a 19.
Everyone make perception checks with advantage, thanks to Belton's successful journey activity.
All right.
A wisdom perception with advantage.
Maliboo cannot be surprised
Okay,
because of his elfin nature.
got it.
Maliboo got a 22.
Violet got a 19.
Slingbet has a 13.
With advantage, probably because you scared shitless. Belton got a 6.
Okay. Maliboo and Violet, you notice a second massive creature hiding underneath the dead tree. There's kind of a elbow in the dead tree, allowing space, and you see legs and many sparkling eyes. There is a massive spider
Nope.
crouched just north of the skull.
Of course there is.
Spider!
Violet, you have the first move.
I'm going to cast Magic Missile at the horrible flesh monster.
The thing that was speaking, I assume. Okay, yep.
Yes.
Can you describe what your magic missiles look like? They all will unerringly hit, of course.
Yes, my magic missiles look like eggplants.
Okay. 3 tiny glowing purple eggplants fire from from Violet's first 3 fingers. They streak through the mist separating you and this hideous arachnid creature. It shrieks as all 3 of them thud into the massive distended abdomen. 9 points of force damage. Okay,
Yes.
It staggers back. It puts both of its freakishly long-fingered hands on the sides of the orbital bone of the skull. It kind of braces itself there in the eye, but it still stands its ground. It's definitely wounded. Anything else, Violet?
I'm going to move backwards 25 feet to get to the back because I'm squishy.
Okay.
And that's my turn.
It is Belton's turn.
Belton is not a big fan of spiders, especially ones of this size, and especially ones that can talk. So, based on the fact that this thing is approximately 35 feet from his position, and he has a bead on it, Belton pulls out his bow and attempts to shoot it in the face. And that is a 10.
It jerks to the side, and the arrow snaps against the mossy, slick stone of the skull and disappears into the underbrush. It points towards you, and it says, "We love halfling. Delicious, gooey, scrumptious halfling.
No.
Get us that one, darling. Get us that one."
I look immediately around for any kind of cover or places that I could potentially hide in either the brush or a tree or anything.
Yeah, fortunately for you, there's a lot going on here on the forest floor. There's a lot of underbrush. There are many large dead trees. You can now see the rib cage and leg and partial arm of this long dead giant crushed beneath the weight of this fallen tree. You pick your spot.
Yeah, that spot seems closer to the spiders.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go in the opposite direction, especially if there's someplace that I could, hide. Let's say a hole or a dead
And
tree.
of course, always, since you are a halfling, I think you always do have the option of trying to hide behind any of your friends except Violet, since they are all
Yeah, not at this particular point in time. Even the elk, honestly, it provides a lot of cover, but no. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just stay within range, but if I can find a tree, he sort of gives the elk a look. He's like, maybe later. And then he just turns. He just finds a tree that he can hide behind and just rushes over, and as a bonus action, performs the hide action, which is a stealth check. That's a 23.
Yeah, there's kind of a huge, oversized, monstrous fern, Belton, and you just sort of pull one of the leaves over your head like hiding under the covers.
Love it. I'm done.
Massive spider scurries forward, moving towards Tlingbet and the elk, who are now in front. Its mandibles quiver rhythmically in front of its face, and there is a glob of sticky gray spittle, Tlingbet, that launches from the spider in your direction.
Ew.
Gross.
With an 8, I'm going to assume that will miss.
That will miss.
Yeah, so it splatters onto a dead stump next to you, and you can see that it is extremely adhesive to Tlingbet. That stump is now covered in sticky goo, but it has narrowly missed you.
All
Right.
And it is Maliboo's turn.
Maliboo says, I've got this. And he bends over and looks down at the ground for a split second, and then he flips his hair up as if there's a fan on him, and it blows around, and he looks incredibly beautiful. And Maliboo would like to rage. And for him, it's not anger, it's raging beauty. And he's
Love
going...
it. He's so fabulous, you can't take it.
He's going to go right up to the spider, and he's going to swirl his morning star around his head, and he's going to say, smash him, Bramble. Going to roll his attack. 13?
A 13 does not hit. The many eyes of the spider converge on you as you get closer and closer into its field of vision, and at the last moment, it just launches itself backwards, and you smash the wet, mossy ground just in front of its face. And its eyes all look back up at you.
And then he's going to use his reaction, and he's going to point his weapon at it and use parrying counter. At the end of your turn, you use your reaction to gain expertise dice to my AC.
Awesome.
1d4?
Yeah.
I rolled a 1. That's fine. This AC applies only to that creature.
Got it.
And if it makes an attack against me and misses, I get another melee attack against it. Called parrying counter.
Got it. All right. The other creature launches itself, cackling down from the eye. It bends its knees. Its abdomen almost touches the ground. It kind of lands on all fours. And then with a screech, it charges towards Maliboo. It reaches for you with one clawed hand, Maliboo. That is going to be a dirty 20.
Oh, that's going to hit.
Oh no.
That will do 7 piercing damage and 2 poison damage as you feel a burning, numbing sensation travel from your wrist to your elbow where it slashes you.
So since I'm raging, I take half.
Correct. So the piercing is reduced to 3, but raging doesn't affect poison.
Right.
So the piercing damage is cut in half. So the piercing damage is reduced to 3, and then you take 2 poison for a total of 5 damage. And after raking you on the sort of underside of your arm with one finger, the creature then leans in and tries to close its jaws around that same arm. 12 to hit.
Bounces right off my shield. Knock it away.
That is its turn. It is to Lingbet's turn.
Lingbet just looks at this giant spider and goes, oh, nope, and goes running in. He's got his short sword and his dagger drawn. So he's going to come running past Maliboo towards the spider, being sure to leave some space in case my good friend, this strange closet elk, wants to join in a moment. He leaves a little bit of space as he makes a run in by this spider and takes a swing at it with his short sword first. It's a nat 20.
That is a crit.
Yes.
Yes.
So Tlingbet gets a crit with his short sword and he rolls some damage there. So that's going to be 5 damage with his short sword.
Just as a reminder, in Level Up A5E, you're going to total the damage, including your modifier and everything, and then whatever that total is just gets doubled.
Nice.
Okay. So we're going to double that 5 to 10. But because he got a crit, Tlingbet does get to do his combat maneuver,
Right?
where he strikes a victory pose.
Yeah.
And so as he strikes his glorious pose, hand on hip, as he stabs this spider, he gets to inspire, hearten 2 of his companions within line of sight. So he's going to choose, I think, Maliboo and Violet, because he really doesn't want her to die again.
Aw.
And each of you, if you have to make a death save before the end of this combat, you get advantage on your first death save.
Oh, great.
Nod.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
So try not to die. Slingbet is very impressive. He also gets, as his bonus action, a stab with his dagger towards this spider. Slingbet got a 7.
You horribly wound it with the short sword Lingbet and then rotates its body away as you try to follow up with the dagger. You do miss with a 7. Anything else to Lingbet?
Slingbet is done.
It is the elk's turn.
Yes. So this elk, who apparently is our new good friend, comes running in to attack the spider as well. The elk does a ram, horns down, charging towards this spider, and the elk gets a total of 11 to try and hit this spider.
The spider again recoils, and with surprising intelligence, it reaches down 2 of its legs and scoops up a shower of moss and dirt into the elk's eyes, causing the elk's ramming attack to go wide and miss, with cunning unbecoming of a spider.
So the elk is done.
Violet, we are at the top of the order. It is your turn again.
Violet is going to move closer a little bit, so 10 feet closer in, and she's going to magic missile the spider this time since people have really been injuring the spider. Great. I rolled a 4, so that's 15 force.
Okay. The magic missiles, the eggplants, dart underneath the humanoid spider creature's legs. One whooshes past Maliboo's face, the other goes between the antler of the elk, and they all converge on the spider, smashing it from all sides. Black spider blood splashes out from the massive arachnid. It is horribly wounded, but it is not quite down after that 15 points of force damage that you did. Yeah, it's just hanging on.
I am going to move back 10 more feet, and that's my turn.
Belton is hiding under a leaf, heroically, and he sees Maliboo's in trouble, and he hears the chittering of the spider, and in his mind, he's thinking, I hate these things, I hate these things, I hate these things. And then he runs out of his hiding spot, 30 feet, because that's all he needs to get to a position where he could potentially attack this bloated, sort of semi-humanoid spider monstrosity or the spider itself. Now that he's there and has run into position, he immediately regrets it because he sees this creature and he is absolutely horrified. I'm just gonna look at the spider and in a millisecond determine if the spider or if this mutant thing is more wounded. Which one looks worse?
So that would be a check. Now, is that something that, as a rogue, you're allowed to do as a bonus action?
No, unfortunately not. But if that's the case, he's just gonna make a best guess, close his eyes, and stab at the thing that's probably more horrifying to him, which is probably, a 10-foot giant spider. Give this thing a stab with my dagger. 10.
No, unfortunately, the spider just lifts its leg out of your dagger swipe and then plants it back down exactly where it was.
Okay, that did not work out very well. As a bonus action, I do have my short sword in my other hand, so I could potentially use that as a bonus action attack. And then he swings his sword at the spider. And that's even worse, that's a 7. Oh, but wait a second. Here's the thing. I rolled a 2, a natural 2 on my d20 roll. Belton has a feature called Deuces Wild.
Awesome.
Which basically means that if I roll a natural 2 on my d20 roll, I can re-roll it. I have to accept the second roll.
That's awesome.
Come on. Big money, big money. That's a 19 to hit.
Yay!
19 does hit and is going to be enough to finish off this giant spider. How does Belton do that?
Belton looks at the dagger and goes, I'll get back to you. And then swings the short sword in a sort of arcing motion upwards and carves a path slashing along the spider's belly and immediately recoiling when he sees what the hell comes out of it.
The spider flips over on its back. Its limbs all contract towards the wound. The spider is dead. Anything else, Belton?
No, that's it. I've used all my actions.
It is Maliboo's turn.
Belton, you're amazing. I knew it.
Kill the damn thing!
And he spins and he takes a swat at it with his Morningstar, and he's flanking with Belton, so
Correct? Yep.
advantage. That's a 14.
Yes, so the 14 hits.
It takes 10 points of bludgeoning damage, and then something strange happens. As it hits, fire runs up his arm and hits the creature. So it takes another 6 points of fire damage.
Ooh.
Awesome. So we're looking at a total of 10 bludgeoning and 6 fire damage, correct?
Correct.
Wow.
This creature shrieks and pats frantically at its long limb where the fire has scorched it and smoke is pouring from the wound. Its head is swinging back and forth in terror between you and Belton. Anything else, Maliboo?
Yes, with my bonus action, because I'm using a defensive medium weapon and I have a medium shield, I can bash it with my bonus action with my shield. So I'm going to take a
Awesome.
smush at it with my shield. That's a 17.
17 hits.
That's 5 more bludgeoning damage.
Big hit.
There's a crack and one of its mandibles snaps off and goes sailing towards Lingbet, passing just near his face as it staggers under the impact of your shield. It raises one hand to the side of its head and gently feels the spot where you've smashed it, and then looks down at his scorched arm and says,
Forgive me. I did not realize we had royalty in our midst. Tell the unseelie court we meant no harm. There is no need to look for us in the weirwood. We will withdraw.
It bows to Maliboo, and it is going to take the disengage action and starts running. It climbs over the corpse of the dead giant spider, and then it starts to climb. So it will use the rest of its movement. It climbs, and it manages to get where it's standing on top of the skull, and then jumps off of the skull onto the side. It's clinging to the side of this massive dead tree that is partially covering the giant skeleton. That'll be as far as it can get. It is Tlingbet's turn.
Tlingbet, upon listening to this thing say what it just said and watching it begin to flee, is actually going to do something a little bit different. So Tlingbet, as a ranger, has a studied adversary, and his studied adversary is the Fae, which means that if he makes an ability check to recall information about a specific Fae thing, he gets advantage on that ability check. So Tlingbet would like to spend his action to think real hard about this thing and see if he can remember anything about it.
Intelligence history check, Tlingbet.
Tlingbet has an 11 with advantage.
You recall no lore about this monstrous spider-like creature through your knowledge of the Fae, but some of its words do strike a chord with you. It mentioned the Unseelie Court. As far as you know, there are 2 Fae courts, the Seelie and Unseelie Court. They are both Fae royalty, as the name would imply. The Unseelie Court is the more dangerous, the more hostile and cruel to mortals, and the more feared of the 2. All Fae can move between 2 worlds, our world and the Dreaming, which is their home, where the Fae come from. And the courts hold sway in both of those places.
So Tlingbet spends his action thinking really hard, tilting his head as he watches this thing flee away. That's going to be his turn. He's not going to pursue it, and the elk cannot reach it if it's gone up in the trees. So I think that's all that Tlingbet and the new elk friend will be doing.
In that case, it is Violet's turn.
I'm going to say, I don't care how delicious my friend Belton is, you can't have him. And I'm going to cast Chill Touch. So what will happen is I will focus and I will hold my hand out towards this creature, and a ghostly apparition of my own hand will come out of my hand and float over to this creature, and it will clasp this creature on its shoulder. And, well, let's see if it hits. That's a 13 to hit.
13 will hit.
Great. Oh, well, that is a whopping 3 points of necrotic damage, and until the start of my next turn, it cannot regain any hit points.
Okay, so the hand clasps it on the shoulder and remains there, clinging to it, and you see the flesh begin to peel and melt away wherever the fingertips of the hand are touching the creature. It shrieks and scrabbles frantically at the dead wood. Anything else, Violet?
No, I just stand there holding my hand in that direction.
Belton.
Belton turns back at Violet and says a little bit under his breath, "She said I was delicious."
It said you were delicious. It said you were. I'm just taking its word for it.
Right. Gives you a wink. Pulls out his short bow and tries to sort of no-look shoot it, just to sort of impress her. That's a 16 to hit.
Yeah, 16 will hit.
5 piercing damage.
Thunk. You shoot it in the shoulder. It actually passes through Violet's spectral hand and embeds itself in the shoulder. It screeches. One arm comes loose of the tree. It kind of wheels crazily above the giant skeleton for a moment and then grabs back onto the tree.
How high up is he?
He's about 10 feet above the skeleton, and then the skeleton is sort of forms a kind of shelf. There would be another 5-foot drop from the skeleton to the ground.
Okay. I look over at Maliboo and sort of give him a shrug, like, should we even?
Maliboo shaking his head, yeah.
Smash it. Yeah. For once, I kind of like the way you're going with this thing. Die, spider thing! And Belton chases after the spider.
Yeah, you can kind of run up the mossy arm of the skeleton as it arcs upward towards the shoulder.
Cool. He will run up with his fleetness of foot. He will run up the arm onto the skull and in a very Ivanhoe kind of way go, ha-ha! Gotcha! And that's pretty much it. That's all he can do at this point. Again, immediately regretting his action when he sees this thing turn in his direction.
Maliboo, it is your turn.
Maliboo sees Belton charge in, and he glances back at the elk and says, "He thinks you're royalty." Charges after Belton. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can't quite get to the spider creature, so he's going to use his bonus action to drop his rage, so his hair seems to flop a little, and he just doesn't look as beautiful and glamorous in the moment. And he points his hand at it. Very similar spectral hand flies out of his hand and attacks the creature, and I'm also going to cast Chill Touch.
Oh my goodness, he has one too.
18,
That'll hit.
which is 5 points of necrotic damage.
It grabs the other shoulder. Both of the Chill Touch hands are grasping this creature, which is shrieking and writhing in agony as its fetid, spider-infested skin sloughs off. It's hanging by its fingertips, but it is not quite killed by that 5 necrotic. Anything else, Maliboo?
That's it. That's all I got.
Belton, you are immediately below it on the dead tree. So it is, in that case, going to disengage from you. And it makes it to the top of the giant fallen log and then keeps going. And you would actually probably lose sight of it as it disappears around the other side of the log, but you can hear it still scrambling away from you through the brush on that side. And it is Talingbet's turn.
Is there room to scramble around the other side and get a line of sight on this thing, or has it disappeared into the brush?
I mean, you can still hear it moving back there. You don't have a sense of what might be on the other side of the tree, so it's hard to say.
Sure. So I guess Talingbet would begin, moving forward, trying to see if he can get around this tree.
Yeah, I'd say you would then need to climb up a little bit, Talingbet, so you'd have to start moving at half speed.
Okay, well, that's the end of his movement.
Okay, so from where your current position, there's just sort of a dead log in front of you that's blocking your vision of where the thing climbed over and dropped.
I will dash.
Okay, and you can see now the creature is scurried across the face of this giant tree stump and has almost reached the far side.
He kind of just yells back to the others, "Are you sure we're killing this thing?"
Is there a reason why not?
It's running away.
Again, is there a reason why not?
Just checking. He prepares to continue to pursue this thing if he gets the opportunity to. Our elk, likewise, will come to the party, come follow along as best an elk can towards this log. And the elk is actually quite a bit faster.
I will say, however, that the elk has no ability to climb up the log.
All right.
So it would have to navigate around the stump.
All right. So the elk has a total of 50 feet of movement. I'm not going to have the elk dash. The elk is just going to catch up with Talingbet and stand its place on the side of the log in case anything goes down.
Violet?
So I move forward. I try to get a glimpse of this creature. I can't. And I just say,
I've lost it. I'm sorry I've lost it, but I'll keep an eye out.
yeah, I just use the dodge action in case anything else should come out of nowhere.
Belton?
Belton looks, if he can, down into this skull, which he seems to be pretty close to. Is there anything he can see? Is it dark in there? Is he able to see inside?
You're looking into the mouth of a dead creature. You can see there are some shapes in there, and you do think you can see some light piercing the mist here and dropping in shafts of sunlight around you, Belton. There is something reflecting off of metal down inside the skull, like lying on the bottom of the skull.
I look over at Maliboo, who's right next to me. I go, "You got this." And I give him a pat on the shoulder, and then I just drop right into the hole.
I got it.
So Belton drops into the mouth of this skull.
There are piles of silk and webbing and shapes and objects suspended in them, Belton. I would say to search through this stuff is going to require your action as a perception check, but I would allow you to use either wisdom or dexterity if you want to sort of feel your way through the stuff and try to untangle things from the silk.
That's fine. I will do that. I will use my action to try to cover as much ground as I can and go through all of this stuff that seems to be covered in spider silk. Oh, it's definitely gonna be dexterity. That's a 13.
You feel through the silk cloth and then two things that feel like handles to you. You pull forward on it a little bit and you realize you are reaching through some very well-preserved fine clothing, maybe a wealthy traveling merchant's clothing. You see flashes of crimson and purple velvet, and holding onto a desiccated rib cage that is inside the clothing. You pull forward, and a partially devoured, partially skeletonized corpse pulls towards you, and a purse detaches from its waist, and you hear metal hit the ground and silver coins splatter across the bottom of the skull as the purse opens and partially spills. There are maybe a couple of hundred silver coins in that purse.
Oh, well, Belton first screams. As soon as the skeleton comes lurching at him, he immediately screams, which probably echoes out of the skull. So just all you hear is just a giant scream coming out of the skull, which turns in almost immediately into sort of laughter. Like, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, you know, when you're on a roller coaster and you're having fun, like all of his stress just completely slides off of him, and he sees the silver, which he attempts to scoop up as best he can. Will that still take his action?
You collect the sack. A lot of it's still in there, so I'll just say as a free action, you cup your hand and smush the rest of the coins back into the sack and scoop it up. For the record, Belton, you have found a pouch of 200 silver coins.
All right.
Oh. I tip my non-existent hat at the skeleton and begin to make my way out.
It is Maliboo's turn.
Maliboo's going to keep his word to Belton. You're right. I'm going up. And he's going to climb.
Give him a thumbs up.
He's going to climb up. Is it like half movement to climb?
Yeah, half movement. It's an easy climb, but a slow climb. Plenty of handholds, just some of them crumble away and some mushroom shelves break off. But it's easy enough. So using twice your movement, you're able to get up.
I'm still not in reach of the creature, but I can see it.
Yeah, you're now running across the top of a dead stump towards it.
Cool. And he will, again, chill touch at him. 20 plus 4, 21.
21 will hit. You seize it by the throat. I'll tell you what, it had 1 hit point left. So it crumples and drops, face first, sprawled with its arms and legs out, twitching, and then lies still as the spectral hand closes over its throat.
Can Maliboo walk over, even though it's down and dead, and just smash it with his Morningstar, just to make sure?
I don't see why not.
And once again, shoot fire out at it.
You smash it with the Morningstar. Numerous tiny spiders all crawl out of the corpse like rats leaving a sinking ship. And it actually deflates slightly once all of the tiny spiders have left and begin to disappear into the dead stump.
Got him! It's down!
We are out of combat.
Nice. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Podcast Party to Slay a Dragon, presented by Cast Party and EN Publishing. The show will be back shortly for the second part. For this series, we're using Level Up Advanced 5th Edition to enhance the classic D&D 5e experience. For more info on these cool new rules and enhancements for your 5th Edition Dungeons & Dragons games, visit levelupa5e.com. You can also purchase this adventure as part of Level Up A5E's awesome new release, To Save a Kingdom, available in both hardcover and PDF formats. If you're a new listener and you're enjoying this adventure, you should also check out Podcast Party Descent into Avernus, as we travel to Hell and hopefully back in a quest to save the stolen city of Elturel from eternal damnation. We have almost 3 years of episodes available now, and new episodes come out right in this feed. Cast Party's holiday one-shot deal is back. Right now, you can book a 3 to 4 hour one-shot online adventure for 3 to 7 players with one of our amazing professional dungeon masters for just $60. I can't think of a better holiday gift than friendship, fun, killing monsters, finding treasure, and saving the day. If there's somebody in your life who would enjoy an adventure, you can book it now by emailing us at info@cast-party.com before January 1st. Mention Holiday One Shot in the subject line. You can also buy this gift for yourself, of course. We won't judge. We also have a live event coming up for those of you in the New York City metro area this winter. Join Cast Party for an evening of dragon slaying, dungeon delving, treasure hunting adventure at the Good Witch at 134 Southside Avenue, Hastings-on-Hudson, New York, on January 6th, 2024. Our professional dungeon masters will lead your party through a tabletop adventure, no previous D&D experience necessary. Your admission will include a 3-hour Dungeons & Dragons experience with a professional dungeon master, Possibly yours truly, or Tal Aviezer, or Andy Cannistra. A delicious drink and snack courtesy of the Good Witch, plus a few surprises. The Good Witch is located just a short train ride from New York City in the historic Hastings-on-Hudson station on the Metro North Hudson line. Planning to attend with a group? Well, we'll make sure that you're seated with friends and family. New player or attending alone? No problem. We'll make sure that you're at a table to suit your experience level. This event is for ages 18 and up, and tickets are on sale now at cast-party.com/live events. Would you like to battle a hideous talking spider creature like our heroes did in this episode? Cast Party's professional dungeon masters are available to hire for online games. We have games for kids as well as adults, and our DMs can run almost any of the official Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition adventures, as well as third-party adventures and even some we've created ourselves. Do you ever feel like you have a great visual picture in your head, but you need a little help putting it into words? Well, with a subscription to Describe, you can access thousands of descriptions of monsters, spells, locations, and more, as well as maps, music, and sound effects to enhance your games, only at Describe.com. That's DSCRYB.com. And would you like 10% off that subscription? Follow the link in the show notes and use the discount code CASTPARTY, all one word, all caps, to save 10% on your first subscription. Check us out at cast-party.com and follow us on Facebook at CastPartyDND, on Twitter at CastParty2, on Instagram at Cast_Party, on TikTok at Cast_Party, or on Threads at Cast_Party. If you enjoy Podcast Party, please follow the show, rate us, and leave us a review. Thanks very much for listening. And now, back to our adventure in Holdenshire.
Well, that was horrible.
Belton, what's down there?
Why is it always bugs?
Belton climbs out using the spider silk, hopefully, to hoist himself up, and he's just coated head to toe in spider goo and silk. Sort of sits there on the lip of the mouth of the skull.
What was down there? Maliboo would like to peek into the eyeball.
It was horrible. Lots of little gross spider things. You don't want to go in there. It's just, it's a mess. There's a skeleton in there, too.
It does seem to be a desiccated corpse there, lying on the floor of the skull. Otherwise, it is shrouded with webbing and silk.
I almost lost my footing, but thank goodness for all that silk in there. It cushioned the fall, you know.
The clothes on the skeleton aren't familiar.
You do not recognize them. I mean, it's a moldering corpse and partially covered in silk, but nothing jumps out at you about the clothing on it.
Gotcha.
So we're supposed to get flowers. We're here for flowers.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna just kind of slightly sadly walk over and start picking flowers.
You gather the freshest and purest of the fey roses that you can find. You weren't instructed by Mr. Wright as to the amount he required, so I assume you fill your available packs and pouches with as many as you're able to carry, and there are roses and petals protruding from your clothing in some cases. You're able to braid some around Elk's antlers and beat a retreat from the giant rotting skull and the strange spider creature that lived there, and clear of the weirwood. That evening, you return to the Hen and Filly. Albert Wright greets you with effusive praise, seeing that you've returned successfully. You find he's already made arrangements for a horse and cart, which are waiting outside for your departure on the next morning. Where Belton and Maliboo were sitting yesterday, there are now a number of stout ropes and 3 large nets that have been heaped into the back of the wagon. When he greets you at his table, where he's now installed himself in the Hen and Filly, he has a pipe-like instrument in his hand, and there are a row of darts spread out on one of Maiko's tablecloths. And he says, "Now, see what I have here? A simple blowgun used to propel these hollow darts. Each dart will carry a small amount of the oil that I'm now able to brew, thanks to your accomplishment. And if we can manage to inject the creature with the darts, it will sleep soundly until we can get it back to the cage I've prepared. Now, we only have enough for 5 shots, so we have to make sure that we get it right. Otherwise, we'll only anger it and be forced to kill it. Can't have that. No good to be dead." I'm sure it won't be a problem, as I'm quite good with a blowgun. I've put any number of sheep and cows to sleep with it. He brandishes it, and he kind of tries to toss it and flip it in the air and catch it nimbly, but I'm going to make a roll. He doesn't. It clatters onto the tablecloth.
I love this guy.
And he says, oh, it's not damaged. It's not damaged. Good old blowgun.
Sheep and cows?
I was going to say that.
Well, cows are quite substantial beasts, you know. Don't go down easy.
They don't run around very fast.
No, that is true. They are rather immobile, but hardy beasts. So I assure you the sleeping draught is efficacious, if nothing else.
Oh, boy.
Al, quick question.
Certainly, friend Belton.
You don't know what this thing is, right? You sort of implied that, but I just want to make sure.
I do not. That is what we have the honor of discovering together.
Absolutely. 100% understand. Question, follow-up, if you would. How are you so sure that this stuff is going to put said undiscovered animal to sleep if you do not know what it is?
Oh. He gazes at the darts and at your rose petals and at the blowgun. Well, it's always worked in the past.
On sheep
On
and
animals
cows.
on sheep, cows, that kind of thing. This is a animal or creature. You're not even sure what the heck it is, right?
He says, no, indeed I do not. He becomes somber for a moment, and he produces a second pouch. This one is a rectangular black leather pouch with a small combination lock on it. He turns away, and you hear tumblers clicking. He turns it back around, and the flap on the pouch is open, and you see 3 additional darts, each in a little molded velvet setting inside this pouch. And he says, well, if it doesn't work, Belton, and I really hope it doesn't come to this, but he shows you the darts, and you can see that each of them has an ampule of bright purple liquid inside. He leans in conspiratorially, and he says, purple worm poison. He puts one finger next to his nose and then points at you.
Belton has a poisoner's kit, so I would assume Belton knows exactly what this stuff can do.
Make an intelligence check, medicine, but with your proficiency bonus if you're not proficient in medicine, since you are proficient in poison.
Okay, so medicine intelligence with a proficiency. That is a natural 1. But halflings have the lucky feature, which is that when I roll a 1 on any ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, I can re-roll the die and use the new roll, which I will do. That's an 11 plus 2, that's a 13.
With a 13, you know that purple worm poison is incredibly deadly and also incredibly rare and expensive. And most creatures could not survive even a single inoculation, a single dart dipped in this. Again, if it successfully hits.
Right.
Belton arches an eyebrow at Al and goes, I didn't take you for that kind of guy.
He says, well, I'm not, Belton, I'm not. I hate to kill anything if I can help it. I'm a vegetarian. But, you know, if it comes down to the beast's life or ours, if my judgment was incorrect about the sleeping draught, we'll have no choice but to dispatch it.
Well, it's always good to have a plan B.
Yes. I'll have to include that note in my memoirs, Belton. Perhaps Plan B would be a good title for it.
I will read that.
Now, if there's nothing else, I have some sleeping draughts to brew, and I'm sure you all have some rest and recovery before we set out for Brockendale Castle.
How far away is that?
Oh, the ruins aren't far at all. And we're not headed for the castle proper. It's just that the hillside near the castle has been the site of these, sheep deaths.
Right. Well, I think we should get a good night's sleep before we leave. What do you all think?
And food.
Yeah, food. Just don't talk about it too much. My cousin doesn't like the fact that he has to call out for it.
Okay.
So you all retire to your rooms at the Hen and Philly, and unless there is anything else you would like to do this evening, you are able to take a long rest here.
Very nice.
When you rise the next morning, Albert Wright is already in the trap at the head of his wagon, loaded with rope and nets, smiling brightly with his floppy expeditioner's hat and a twinkle in his eyes, waving up at you as you look down at him from the upper floor of the Hen and Philly. He lifts the hat in greeting and he says, "Come on, losing daylight. To Brockendale Castle, my friends."
How are we going to keep him alive?
Seems very chipper, honestly.
Yes. He's very enthusiastic.
If he dies, we still get paid?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know. I never really asked him about that. I probably should have.
I could drive the wagon. We don't really need him, do we?
Well, he's kind of important. He's the guy who's going to tell us where this thing is and all kinds of information about it. I think it's kind of part of the deal that we bring this guy with us. So yeah, we gotta just keep him from getting into too much trouble. That's why we're along for the ride.
Yes, he seems rather nice.
Okay.
Belton hops into the back of the wagon.
So will Maliboo.
Lingbet, seeing that Belton has decided that this is okay and this is a thing we're doing, climbs in with Belton.
Just to clarify, Lingbet, you're riding the wagon. Is the elk coming?
Yes, Lingbet will gesture for the elk to follow along, but give it a break so it doesn't have to carry him the whole way.
Elk trails along beside the wagon. Albert Wright chatters amiably to you. He's particularly interested to hear more about the Kalkoi barb that Violet mentioned earlier, and is peppering you with questions about it, Violet, as the cart drawn by a rather bored-looking speckled gray horse ascends into the foothills northeast of town. He says, yes, the last reported attack site, just a moment, Violet, I'm eager to get back to that terrible insect that you met, is just about half a mile from the castle. We should see some... there they are. He stands up in the trap and points, and you see a patch of scorched grass. The grass is maybe just starting to die off at the end of summer, early autumn, but there's an unmistakable blackened patch, and as he points, you can see a few of these ascending further up into the foothills, maybe each separated by 100 to 150 feet or so, in a kind of like a scattered pattern along the foothills, but gradually moving upwards and further northwest.
How big are these blackened patches approximately?
They range from maybe 5 by 3 to as large as 8 by 10 or 8 by 12. Make a perception check, Belton, or a survival check. Your choice. So we'll say wisdom, perception, or survival.
So I'll go with perception, wisdom. That is a non-natural 20.
Hey.
You're passing alongside one of these burned patches, Belton. It's maybe 15 or 20 feet off on your left. You see that there is a corpse of some animal lying in the middle of that particular blackened patch.
Oh.
May I take a look at it?
I have proficiency in medicine, specifically with autopsy.
Okay.
Wow.
Albert Wright pulls the ring.
That's very specific. I love it.
Yes.
Wow. Jesus.
So that will actually allow you to apply an expertise die to your medicine check there. So Albert Wright pulls on the reins of the draft horse. The elk also comes uneasily to a stop next to the wagon, enabling you, if you would like, to hop out and examine the kill site.
Yes, I would like to. I'm going to roll up my little sleeves and going to take a look at the corpse and see if I can see any distinguishing bite marks, or if it looks like claws, or if I see tritus.
Intelligence medicine check, and feel free to add a D4 expertise die for autopsy. And Belton, with that earlier dirty 20 that you got, you can see a set of lion-like footprints moving away from the kill site.
Violet got a 19 on her autopsy roll.
Violet, curious. There are different and distinct sets of bite marks on the body of this sheep where hunks have been torn away. You point these out to Mr. Wright, and he's able to help you identify the 3 different bite marks, as if the sheep was attacked at once by 3 very different animals.
Oh,
But he identifies them as belonging to the jaws of a lion, a dragon, and strangely enough, a goat.
What?
A goat?
Do the bite marks appear to have happened at different times?
No, I'd say with that 19, some of them are overlapping, as if all 3 of these creatures were savaging the sheep at the same time.
What?
Oh, this is some freaky shit.
But wait a second, I only saw one set of footprints. Did you see other footprints?
No, not at all. It's very confusing. I'm shocked. Maybe the lion ate the goat, and well, I guess I don't.
And the dragon ate the lion. 100%.
I don't know. It's a turducken thing.
That's amazing. Turducken.
Maybe the dragon's their friend and he carries them.
Somebody just kind of looks around and says, do you want me to see if I can figure out where it went?
Yes, please.
All right. And he climbs down from the wagon and very carefully studies these lion prints.
You want some help? I can help.
Sure. Do you think it's a fae? Do you think it's another fae?
Yes.
Tlingbet thinks on this a moment. So Tlingbet is going to look around for tracks, any other tracks, and to try and kind of follow these. And if it does happen to be a fae, he does get advantage.
For what is worth, you will not receive advantage on this roll. So infer from that what you will.
Mm-hmm. Can I help?
I will award Tlingbet advantage, or vice versa, depending on which of you, has the better skill and would like to try to make the primary roll. But it will be your choice of either a perception or survival check, relying on wisdom.
Tlingbet happens to be very good at seeing things in daylight. Give me a moment. And you see his Dragonborn lizard eyelid kind of flicker a little bit as he stares down at these tracks. Tlingbet, because of his sun seeing, gets expertise on perception checks made in daylight. Plus, he's going to have the advantage from having the assistance here.
Got it. So yes, a wisdom perception check with the expertise and with advantage.
15.
You look around fruitlessly for a few minutes, very slowly moving forward. You kind of put your Dragonborn feet in the larger prints of the lion, moving northward across the scorched grass. The dry, dead grass is rattling around your legs a little bit, Tlingbet. And just at the point of giving up, you spot where the trail picks up. Your eyes grow wider. You're not able to bring the cart. You're moving up into the foothills and away from this track that the cart was following, but the elk is able to follow you up. Albert dismounts from the cart, gathers up rope and a net, and begins clambering after you, kind of taking 2 strides for every one of yours, Tlingbet. With that 15, Tlingbet is able to follow the tracks. They periodically disappear completely, Tlingbet. You have to pause for a few moments to pick them up again, sometimes spaced 60, 80 feet apart before they appear and impact on the ground again. The tracks take you across the top of a low hill near the foot of a mountain range that you've been approaching for the past several hours. The area in front of you has been burned clear of all vegetation for 100 yards in front of a cave mouth set in the lower reaches of the slope of the nearest mountain.
Tlingbet just kind of lowers his voice to the rest of them and says, I think we're very, very close. We should be careful. This does not seem like a normal lion, guys.
What sort of lion can jump that far?
I don't know. At this point, Tlingbet is going to gesture for the elk to kind of stay in a safe distance because elks are, after all, good lion food. And he's going to kind of try and creep closer to the cave to see if he can see anything else, learn anything else about this creature before we alert it to our presence.
There are ascending tiers of rock covered with scrubby grass. You're able to scramble up to get to the mouth of the cave. There are a pair of snapped logs lying in the mouth of this rocky cave, which certainly seems like a natural cave to Tlingbet. You don't need to make a roll to ascertain that. This isn't like a mine or anything of that nature. It is worn by weather and perhaps a vanished river or body of water that has carved this into the mountainside.
How large is vertically the top of the cave from the ground?
The entrance to the cave is about 20 feet wide and roughly 20 feet tall, perhaps 25 feet tall. It is a little bit irregular, but the central peak of the opening is about 25 feet.
All right, yeah, so Tlingbet's going to try and creep towards the entrance very quietly to see if he can peer around and see if there's anything, he can learn.
Dexterity stealth check to Tlingbet.
Hey, Tlingbet has a 9. The dice have not been kind to Tlingbet tonight.
You peer into the shadowy cave to Tlingbet, kind of crept to the eastern side of the cave entrance. Peering in, you can see that it is not a tremendously deep cave.
And he does have dark vision, if that makes any difference here.
Yeah. And your dark vision, can you tell me how far your dark vision extends to Tlingbet?
60 feet.
you can just about make out the back wall of the cave from the entrance to Lingbet. The main cave seems to only be about 60 feet deep exactly. The rock face is just materializing out of the darkness at the very edge of your dark vision. There does seem to also be a shallow recess, maybe 20 or 25 feet into the cave on the right. That might be a side chamber of some kind.
And it looks like there might be some things in that side chamber. Do I see those?
There's a little rocky outcropping. There are a couple of what might be skeletons or carcasses piled in that little side chamber to Lingbet. At this distance, it's hard to make out too many details, but you can see the glint of bone.
Well, Lingbet, having peered around the corner, gestures to Belton to come over and just kind of whispers to Belton, "There's bones and stuff in there. I'm pretty sure we found, where it leaves it's dead stuff."
Wonderful.
Now what?
Oh, you're asking my opinion on what should occur next.
Yeah. Now what? I think we found its home. So, that's what I was here for. I find things.
Oh,
we found it. Now what?
Congratulations. I would say take it up with Al over there. I mean, I could certainly. Wait, you're asking me to go in, aren't you?
Maybe.
I thought so. All right. Shit. All right.
Lingbet just has this kind of, sheepish grin on his face. Yes.
Picking up what you're putting down. All right, hold on 1 second. He walks sadly over to Al and says, "All right, so Al, it looks like this is the place. Yeah."
Yes, I can feel it in my explorer's bones, Belton. Hold my hand.
Al, I don't really want to do this, but okay, fine. And he holds your enormous human hand.
Oh, Belton, you know what, Belton? You're going to think this is hilarious. For a moment, I thought I'd forgotten to bring the potions, but they're here, don't worry. He pats his breast pocket.
God.
Belton blinks at Albert, just like, you are such a professional. Okay, let's just go quietly. You are able to, being a observer and tracker of animals, you are able to quietly go into their potential lair, yes?
Of course I am, yes. Shall I lead?
No, bad idea.
All right.
I would prefer that I go inside, just letting you know, if you hear screaming and I come running out, get ready to use your little doohickey to shoot at whatever comes out of there with the sleepy juice.
Of course. And Belton, if I might offer you a piece of expert advice as a man of the wilderness.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, if you encounter the beast, and make yourself look as big as you can and make noise. If you've got a couple of pots to bang together, because they're generally just as scared of you as you are of them, if not more so. But they can sense fear, Belton. He points at you. They can smell the fear on you, Belton.
This is not making me a happier person. I'm just letting you know that outright, okay? Fear is part of who I am. It's the defense mechanism by which I live. So I'm okay with going in quietly. Making myself bigger is not a choice I can make, okay? I'm just letting you know this is me.
I apologize, Belton. I do tend to rattle on a bit when I'm terrified.
That's fine. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just go in there now, folks.
I'm just going to walk up to Belton before he gets in there and just say, Belton. And then when he looks at me, I'm just going to go boop and poop him on the nose. And I'm going to use Unfickle Fate. So for 1 hour, you will have a premonition that you'll remember. And while you remember it, you can reroll any ability check, attack roll, or saving throw.
Awesome. Belton blushes and says, I appreciated that, Boop.
You're being very brave.
Kind of unlike me, but I'll take it as it comes. All right. Watch me disappear.
As Belton starts walking in, Maliboo just starts following him.
No. Just hang out here. You're kind of very loud. No. You're loud. Agree to disagree. So
I'm colorful.
That's very true. I will go inside this cave, quiet-like, and then I will lure the creature out, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Belton will take a deep breath, turn towards the darkness of the cave, realizing he has no light source whatsoever, of course, and has no dark vision, but will sort of make his
Oh
way
my
and just
God.
feel his way along the side of the cave as best he can.
Oh my god.
Fortunately for you, Belton, it is not a particularly deep cave, and there is a fair amount of daylight spilling in
Oh, thank God.
from the cave opening. It is shadowy, but you are not plunged into darkness the second that you step into the cave.
Thank goodness.
Dexterity stealth check, Belton.
That's a 16.
Violet, the unfickle fate seemed to come almost unbidden to your mind. You performed the gestures almost as if you had memorized them, but you realized that you never have done that before, but you've seen Mercury do it.
Yes, I don't know. I just thought I could do it. Did it work? I wonder if it worked.
We'll soon find out. Belton, you creep quietly forward into the cave. You've reached where there's this sort of low barricade of fallen trees. You see their weakest, most crumbly, crackly points and avoid them. Make your way over the logs and into the space. Looks like there are a pair of skeletons with the meat gnawed down to the bone, lying in that small, shallow side chamber. There are the tattered remnants of a set of robes, a backpack, and some traveler's gear, like sleeping bags, strewn among them.
Belton sees the equipment scattered by these skeletons and essentially has to sort of tear himself away from wandering over towards this pile of loot. Not the right time, not the right time, not the right time, not the right time. And then slowly begins to work his way just sort of along the edge of the cave as best he can and try to spy anything inside that may be, say, lion-shaped or lion-sized.
Wisdom perception check, Belton. Albert moves up next to Violet and peers into the gloomy cave. Can you see him? Can you still see Belton? Is he dead?
I can see him. No, he's not dead.
Maliboo and Tlingbet, you hear the heavy beating of wings behind you.
Oh, crap.
Oh no.
Oh, get inside. Get inside.
In the
Yeah.
cave.
Get in.
In the cave.
You wheel around
Oh, God.
and you see a beast as big as a horse with dragon-like wings the size of a small ship's sails,
Oh,
with
shit.
its serpentine tail extending from a goat's hindquarters. 3 heads bloom from its overburdened shoulders: a lion, a horned goat, and something like a red dragon.
We're idiots.
Speak for yourself.
Dots! Dots! Dots!
Oh, God.
Oh,
Clearly, this thing has sighted you in the mouth of its cave,
Shit.
and you may be its next meal, so we will roll initiative.
And of course, Albert is right there. He's right there.
Well, you guys wouldn't let him go in the cave.
Why would I do that if it was inside the cave? Do I hear that inside the cave, by the way? Does Belton hear the flapping of wings?
It's not quiet.
Belton got a 6.
I got an 8.
Flingbit has a 10.
Maliboo got a 21.
Maliboo, you have the first move.
Is it on the ground or is it in the air?
It is in the air. It is about 40 feet in the air and about 50 feet from you.
Maliboo is going to wave his arms and say, "Dinner's here, right here!" And he's going to move out 30 feet away from everybody else. And he is going to use his bonus action to, again, put his head down, flip his hair up. And this time he becomes like a little fuzzy, as if behind a Vaseline lens. And he's going to use his rage, his raging beauty. For his action, he is going to throw a javelin at it.
What's range on the javelin?
30 feet, 120 long.
Okay, so it is 40 feet in the air, and from your current position, yeah, you will be at disadvantage making the shot.
So there'll be a 15.
15 is still good enough. Your javelin sails upward in a diagonal arc from the ground towards this monstrosity and pierces its hide. Go ahead and roll for damage.
That's 5 points of piercing damage.
Okay, so it slashes the side of the beast, and then the javelin tumbles through the air, dropping 40 feet and sticks point down in the ground nearby after slashing the creature's side.
I am going to use my reaction and wave at the creature with my weapon, and once again use parrying counter, so I can add an expertise die to my AC from that creature if it attacks me. If it misses me with an attack, I get to attack it if it's melee. I'll roll my expertise, which is a 4. So my AC goes up by 4.
Albert's eyes light up and he lets out a whoop of joy and begins jumping up and down and waving his hat over his head. Chimera! Chimera! Look at that beauty! Look at her! Hold her off till I can get her drugged. Let me just check the range on a blowgun, because I have a feeling it is not impressive. So he puts the blowgun to his lips, and he's going to wait for a good shot, which he does not currently have. It is to Lingbet's turn.
He's going to stand right in the middle there, too?
Yeah, he wants his shot.
Slingbet is going to sigh heavily seeing this man waving his hat up and down at everything. He just moves over next to him, prepared to have to deal with this creature when it gets here. He squints up at the Chimera, and is the Chimera within 90 feet of me?
It is within 90 feet.
Fantastic. As a bonus action, Slingbet squints at it really hard and makes it his hunter's target. So that is a ranger thing. What that means is that he marks it as his quarry for the next hour. He's focused on this creature, and it's going to give him a +1 to weapon attack rolls against it. And if he hits, his attacks do extra damage. Also, if this thing tries to run away, gives him some advantages to try and chase it down later. That's his bonus action. As his action, he's going to pull out his bow and take a shot at this thing. So the longbow is 150 or 600.
Okay, well within 150, so you have a normal attack.
And he does get the +1, so it's a total of 17 to hit.
Yeah, your arrow pierces through one of the Chimera's wings, tearing a small hole through it. You will do the full damage, so that is 9 piercing plus an extra 3, right, for your
Correct, yes.
hunter effect?
Awesome.
12 points of damage.
And Slingbet just looks back over his shoulder at Albert Wright and says, I hope you don't mind if we bring it down. It's going to try and eat you if you keep yelling like that.
He nods and gives you a thumbs up and puts both of his hands back on the blowpipe and bends his knees and starts bouncing lightly up and down in place.
Yeah, he's adorable. Slingbet is done.
Okay, Violet, it is your turn.
I'm just going to yell behind me, Belton, Chimera! And then I'm going to cast Magic Missile at the Chimera. Oh, fuck. That's a 1, so it does like 6 points of force damage.
Yeah, you all see these tiny glowing eggplants arc up into the sky, and you barely hear the distant impact as they thud into the Chimera. It does take 6 force. Anything else, Violet?
No, I'm so sorry.
Belton, it is your turn.
Hearing the mellifluous voice of Violet coming through to him in the cave, he actually has no idea what the hell a Chimera is, so he just turns around and goes, "What?" Doesn't run, just sort of sneakily moves his way back to the mouth of the cave. He's still in cover. The question is, can he get a bead on this thing with his short bow? That's 75 feet away from where he's standing.
But it is also 40 feet in the air. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, you know?
Math.
So that'll count as 115 feet from your current position, Belt.
That is too far from my short bow unless I make a disadvantage hit. So I will dash, but slowly dash. Amazing. So yeah, this is just slowly dash, just like moving. It's like a speed walk. So he will speed walk. That's all he can do with his movement and his bonus action. And then recalculating, how far is this thing up in the air now? He's 55 feet plus another 20 in the air, you said?
40.
40?
Yep. So you are now 95 feet away from him.
I mean, it's worth a shot. He's still technically stealthed, unless actually, well, he's hiding behind Albert. So yes, absolutely, he's still in cover. Unfortunately, this will not get sneak attack because it's disadvantage on this short bow attack.
So it's a push. You don't have advantage because the disadvantage of being out of range is negated by the advantage of being in stealth. So it's just a regular shot with no chance of sneak attack, but you don't have disadvantage on the shot.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's a 23 to hit.
Woo!
A 23 does hit. So the arrow sails up 95 feet into the air, and you see it impact the creature. You can not make out in detail what has happened. You don't see the arrow drop away from it, so you know it hit.
He does a fist pump and goes, "Yes, I think I got it." And that's the end of his turn.
Albert says, Belton, we can't kill it. Remember? He points to the blowgun.
I'm weakening it. Come on.
The dragon head turns and peers down at Maliboo. It dives towards Maliboo. It comes considerably lower. It is only about 15 feet off the ground and about 10 feet in front of Maliboo. Maliboo, you can now see it in grisly detail. The thrashing tail, the rolling wild eyes of the goat, but the glowing eyes of the dragon turn in your direction. Its jaw drops open, and a cone of flame. The rest of you can see its cone of flame strafing down from the Chimera onto Maliboo. Maliboo, you must make a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, that's 6.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
You see Maliboo disappear momentarily behind a curtain of flame, and Maliboo, you will take 25 fire damage.
Whoa.
Maliboo is staggered.
Well, this is bad. Fire!
Albert runs forward. All right, Albert moves almost underneath the creature as it's focused on Maliboo. You see the back of his head tilt up, and you see the blowpipe extending like a straw from his mouth. Maliboo, from where you're standing, you hear...
Oh my God.
Can I see if it hits?
You can actually make out the dart. As soon as it leaves the blowgun, the wind picks up the dart and just throws it against the cave.
Oh my God.
He turns back around towards where Belton and Talingbet are standing and holds up 4 fingers towards you. 4 more chances! And he gives a thumbs up with the other head. Talingbet, it is your turn.
Talingbet just sighs so heavily, and he's gonna kind of try and move a little bit to a hopefully safer vantage point to these tree stumps that seem to be over here, to just hopefully give himself a little protection in case that thing comes over here. Before leveling his bow and taking another shot with his hunter's target, he gets a 21 to hit.
That will certainly hit.
He's going to do a total of 7 damage.
You can now see the thing much closer. It's only about 15 feet off the ground. Your arrow punches into its side for 7 points of damage and sticks in the wound. You see blood running down the side of the creature. Violet.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm gonna cast Magic Missile. Great, I got 5s on those, so that's 15 points of force damage.
You strike each of its heads dead center between the eyes. It staggers and wobbles in the air, and the goat vomits its breakfast up, which splashes down in the grass near Albert.
Oh.
It is now looking pretty badly wounded, but it is still airborne.
Albert, just hit it with the dart! And I'm gonna stay where I am.
Belton, it is your turn.
Belton sees Maliboo absolutely decimated by this fire attack. Am I wrong, Maliboo? How badly are you messed up?
I have 7 hit points left.
Yeah, I mean, Belton sees the effect of his shot and Violet's shots, looks at Albert and goes, "That guy's nuts. Crap." He pulls from his pouch a healing potion, and he runs over to Maliboo, and as his action, empties the healing potion into Maliboo's mouth. Says, "All right, buddy, come on, wake up. You're not out of this yet."
I can't breathe.
No, I'm sorry. Just take a breath. Through your nose. And I will roll 2d4 plus 2. You get back, double ones. You spat out most of it. It's not my fault. It's your fault. You spat out most of it. You get 4 hit points back.
Anything else, Belton?
Yeah, he sees Maliboo, and then he will run behind the nearest tree and use his bonus action to hide.
The Chimera swings down and lands, all 4 lion's feet touching the ground right next to Maliboo, then turns and the dragon begins to cough or gasp. And you see little gouts of flame coming out of its nose and mouth, like someone's trying to flick a pilot light on an oven, and then the flame catches and ignites. It recovered its breath weapon.
God damn it.
It breathes a blast of flame in Maliboo's direction,
Holy
which
shit.
is Belton's gonna get it too. So
Okay.
even though Belton's hidden,
my
he is
God.
still in the cone.
Yep,
so
that's fair.
Maliboo and Belton will need to make dexterity saving throws.
Holy shit.
Maliboo rolled a 12.
And Belton, the luck of the halflings, got a natural 20.
Oh my God.
Maliboo takes 22 points of fire damage.
Wait.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Belton takes 11.
Ow, 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 ow.
So yeah, you see Maliboo disappear in a cone of flame in front of the Chimera, and when the cone clears, his burned body is lying prone on the ground. Belton, the tree that you're hiding in is like reduced to like mostly ash and the leaves are burned off.
Shit.
That is the Chimera's turn. It is Maliboo death save.
14.
It is one success for Maliboo. Albert's right's turn, so it is now right next to him.
Oh my god.
And he is now too close. He would try. He's going to try a point-blank blowgun shot with disadvantage.
I believe in you, Albert Wright.
I'm going to roll this in the
Do
open.
it.
Okay, no, it's just
Oh my god.
That might hit.
wow.
You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, the dart jams at the end of the blowpipe. He blows it again, and the dart just explodes into different shards and falls in the grass in front of Albert.
Oh, for God's sake.
Third time's the charm, I suppose. And it is to Lingvet's turn.
Lingvet sighs heavily, disappointed at this point with this man's ineptitude, and begins moving towards this creature, making his way across the open area. And from there, he's going to go ahead and take his shot with his bow. And that's a crit fail.
This is a misfire to Lingvet, and the arrow just shoots into the ground between your feet.
Lizard head face thing, just to kind of try and get it to stop paying attention to Maliboo.
Make it your choice, animal handling or persuasion
Oh, we're doing some animal handling.
with charisma.
All right. And that is an impressive 7 on that animal handling.
The goat turns and looks at you.
Oh, well.
1 out of 3.
Anything else to Lingvet?
No, it's like that's done.
All right, Violet, it is your turn.
Okay, I'm very worried about Maliboo. I'm going to, as a bonus action, turn invisible by using Into Mist, and then I'm going to move 25 feet, and I'm invisible until the end of my next turn.
Ooh.
And it will only end early if I attack, deal damage, cast a spell, or force a saving throw. So I just want to be nearby in case I need to rush in and help Maliboo.
Got it. Belton.
Belton pats out the fire that's still remaining from the last time this thing breathed fire in his direction. He is in a lot of pain. He comes around the side of the tree and sees Albert Wright doing a really shitty job. He yells at Albert and he goes, "Toss me the dart!" And he comes running around the corner. 5, 10, 15. Can I use a free object interaction to grab one of these darts out of Albert's hands?
Yes, I'll say he'd probably be trying to get a dart out. So yeah, you can grab a dart from Albert.
If I stabbed this thing, rather than having it go through the blowgun, if I just stabbed it with a dart as an attack, would it do the job?
I don't know if you would know that, and to try to make a medical determination would be your action.
Yeah, fuck it.
You go with your gut on that or not?
Yep.
I like it.
I sort of grab the dart in midair, perhaps, as Albert is tossing it to me, and I take a step towards this thing and plunge it directly into the butt area of this chimera with an attack roll.
I am going to say that it will count as a finesse weapon, since it is
Amazing.
a dart. But stabbing someone with a dart is not a thing you are proficient in.
That is very true.
So I will say this is a d20 plus your dex bonus on the attack roll, but not your proficiency bonus.
That is totally fair. That'll be a d20 plus 3. That's a 10. But I'm going to use that, what's it called again?
Unfickle Fate.
Unfickle Fate to re-roll that. Almost as if I'm having a premonition of, no, that's the wrong butt cheek, and then flip to the other side. And I get a non-natural 20.
Yes!
Nice.
Belton, would you care to describe how you jam the poison dart into the ass of the chimera?
He grabs the dart, he just skids to a halt right in front of the butt of this enormous chimera, and then he comes down with all of his halfling force, two-handed, and then immediately at the last second, he just turns it the other way and hits the butt of the chimera and jams it as hard as his little halfling hands can push.
The back half of the chimera drops to the grass like a sack of potatoes almost immediately as the poison enters its bloodstream. It then drags itself around towards you. The goat head reaches you first and screams at you. Ah! and then its eyes go glassy and the goat head slumps over. You feel the hot breath of the lion as it tries to close its blind mouth around your small halfling head. Its hot breath wilts your skin, and then it slumps forward on its face. The dragon, you know what? For the fuck of it, I'm gonna roll. Okay, the dragon would have gotten its breath weapon back. So you see the flame ignite in the dragon's mouth again, and there's just a whiff of a spark before it too collapses in a heap at your feet, Belton.
Belton's eyes are shut, and in a very Bill Murray fashion, he sort of like opens one eye and goes, hey, and he just pokes it.
Albert says, that's got him, Belton. That a boy, sleep. We're still in initiative because Maliboo is down. So anything else, Belton?
No, that's it, I'm done.
Maliboo, death save.
Ooh, 12.
Okay, that is 2 successes. Albert Wright rapidly begins tying ropes around the fallen Chimera. It is Talingbet's turn.
Talingbet, rifling through his pockets and realizes that he has nothing that he can do to really help Maliboo. Looks around and says, Violet, you've got him, right? He's looking kind of toasty.
Yes, I've got him.
Talingbet doesn't really have anything he can do, and so he kind of just moves over next to the Chimera, and he'll help Albert make sure that this thing is restrained as best he can.
Violet, you hear a familiar voice in the back of your skull, and it says,
All it takes is a word, Violet. Your word.
Okay. And I will run up to Maliboo, and I will put a hand on Maliboo's cheek, and I will cast Cure Wounds.
This is not the Violet we once knew.
Not at all.
That's 3 points of healing. I'm sorry it's not more, but I've never done this before.
Belton! I got him, Belton!
Belton just looks over at Maliboo. Great, buddy, great.
Going to be okay.
Maliboo takes a big, deep breath, and he is actually going to use something called Catch Your Breath, and he gets a D6 plus his con plus his proficiency back in hit points.
wow.
That's awesome.
3, 4, 5, 6. So he gets 7 back.
Albert runs over to you, Maliboo. Thank you so much. Couldn't have done it without you. Marvelous performance. He sort of spreads his arms as if to hug all of you symbolically. Just think, he gestures behind him, my very own Chimera. Think of the books I can write about its behavior.
Tie the
dissertations,
Tie
the
the mouth.
lectures.
Tie the mouth.
Oh, yes, tie the mouth to
The dragon.
The lectures.
Yeah, all of them.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Tears are in his eyes. Thank you, poor old Maliboo.
Belton, should we search the cave? Could be gold.
That is a very good idea.
We should make sure it doesn't have eggs or anything.
Do they lay eggs?
You don't mind that we check to make sure that the cave has no little Chimera in there, right? That you may want to take with you.
Oh, no.
Maybe it has
good
little
thinking.
Chimera in there, right?
I would love a Chimeraling.
If that's what they are called, fantastic. We will go in and check for it.
It is now. I mean, I'm going to write the definitive text on this.
100%. All right, we will be back.
If you gentlemen would like to search the cave, that will require a wisdom perception check, which you can make individually or one helping the other, depending on how you'd like to do that.
Maybe we each make our own?
I have an ability called Sense for Secrets. It's specifically about investigation checks, so I don't think this would actually apply, but it says you have a sense for finding hidden things. But that would be essentially with me, if I knew something was hidden, you tell
I
me.
buy this as hidden.
Okay.
So go ahead and use that.
I get expertise when I use my smell, my sense of smell. So I'm going to sniff the Chimera and then sniff around in the cave as well.
So that'll be the investigation for Belton and the perception for Maliboo. Yeah, intelligence for you, Belton, and wisdom for you, Maliboo.
That will include my specialty 1d4 die. All right. Unfortunately, I didn't do too well. I got an 11.
And Maliboo got a 17.
The place is rank with the smell of the Chimera, Maliboo, and it is densest around those corpses piled in the side cavern. In trying to track down possible eggs or offspring among the bodies and detritus piled there, Maliboo, you find none, but you do find some other items of interest amongst these two, seem to have been the bodies of two adventurers who were unfortunate enough to perhaps be exploring Brockendale Castle or the nearby foothills and met their end. They were carrying a bag of gems worth 150 gold, a spell scroll, which, Violet, you are able to identify as a scroll of mirror image,
Ooh.
and a glowing dagger with dwarven runes on the hilt. Do any of you speak dwarven?
I might.
Not me.
Then dwarven runes on the hilt that you can perhaps try to identify later, but the blade does glow with a faint blue light.
Oh my god.
Belton.
Amazing.
Belton, take this dagger. Take this. Look. Take it. It glows.
Hey.
Take it. Shh. What?
That is a beautiful dagger. I might, be able to use it a little bit better.
Of course, I owe you. Here, take it. But I don't tell him about the bag of gems. I keep that.
Okay. You ride back in Mr. Wright's wagon with the loudly snoring Chimera. He's actually obliged to stick it with all of the rest of his darts, and as it slowly begins to stir back to life during the journey back to Hengistbury. Before you've even reached town, he distributes 2,000 gold pieces. Now, that is not 2,000 gold pieces each.
Right.
So that would be each of you does get 500 gold pieces from Mr. Wright. You are a spectacle as you roll back into town with a sleeping Chimera tied up in the back of the wagon, telling that you make sure that there are extra bindings around each of its muzzles.
Fantastic.
Its tongues are lolling out as you pull into town. Micah waves you down in front of the head and filly, and he says, we talked about slowing down, Belton. This isn't, exactly what I had in mind. But, Mr. Tlingbet, there's a message for you.
Oh, is it from Ariadne?
I promised I wouldn't tell. He passes a rolled up piece of parchment towards you.
Tlingbet very enthusiastically, very, very quickly unrolls the parchment. And he's not going to read it out loud, but for everyone's benefit, it says, Tlingbet, we're both alive, we're both home, and I love you. I loved you since I first saw you. I have to tell you something important, and it can't wait another day. Please meet me tonight at the place we first met. Signed, Ariadne. So upon reading all of this to himself, he very quickly rolls it back up and puts it in one of his pouches and says, we're staying in town tonight, right? I have some things to take care of. And very enthusiastically kind of tries to excuse himself, quite willing to be several hours early for this meeting if need be.
Tlingbet makes his way down to the banks of the Moor Run River. The rest of you bustle inside the hen and filly, congratulating yourselves over the heroics of the day. Mr. Wright effusive in his praise. After about an hour, though, you hear a commotion outside. Micah goes to the window. He says, something going on at the temple there. He points across the street. Large crowd has gathered outside the temple. They're all seem to be trying to push their way in. They're chattering excitedly. Something has clearly happened. You can see Lady Pemberton's carriage tethered outside the temple.
What is going on out there, Micah?
This ain't good, whatever it is. Something bad's happening.
Shit. All right. Should we go and check it out?
I need rest, but I'll go.
We can always get rest after this. I just gotta... My curiosity has been piqued.
Okay.
You'll be okay.
Pushing your way through the crowd, you see that inside the temple, Sheriff Bran Torek has been carefully laid out on a stretcher.
Oh, no.
He is awake and talking to Lady Pemberton, who is tending to him as those around them strain to watch. There is a short black arrow jutting out of Bran Torek's leg, and his tunic is heavily bloodstained. I couldn't stop him. And Lady Pemberton nods sympathetically and is concentrating on cleaning his wounds. But he sees you in the crowd and waves, beckons you forward. I tried to stop him, but I was only one man against a whole horde of those devils. Please, you gotta, they got him. They got Tlingbet. And his voice falters. They took him. They kidnapped Tlingbet. And he slips into unconsciousness.
Oh, shit.
Oh, crap.
Look over at the black arrow. Does it look like an arrow I might have seen certain creatures use, perhaps?
Intelligence culture.
Okay. That's a non-natural 20.
You've seen these arrows before on the raid at the summer fair. It is definitely a kobold arrow.
God damn it.
Thanks for listening. This episode featured the Dungeon Master stylings of Aviezer with Andy Cannistra as Maliboo, Carolyn Fox as Violet, Rachel Savicki as Tlingbet, and me, Matt Gordon, as Belton Freedew. This episode was edited by Aviezer and Carolyn Fox. Some sound effects in this episode are courtesy of Sirenscape. Remember, if you enjoy Podcast Party, please follow the show, rate us, and leave us a review. Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of Descent into Avernus, and in 4 weeks with the next episode of To Slay a Dragon.